All right, so you really want to get Pakistan's economy.
Yeah,
Awesome.
let's do it.
We're going to unpack a whole stack of reports, articles, even some on-the-ground insights from Pakistan itself.
So,
Get this, we're talking inflation cooling down, trade secrets, and why everyone seems to think small businesses hold the key.
interesting.
Intrigued.
Yeah, let's go.
You've hit on the keywords there, cooling down. For a while, it's been a bit of a roller coaster for Pakistan's economy.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing from these sources is a cautious but real sense of hope starting to emerge.
Let's talk about that roller coaster for a second.
All right.
You know, the State Bank of Pakistan, the SBP,
Yeah.
just came out with their annual report. And remember those crazy high inflation numbers we were all worried about?
Yeah.
Turns out they've chilled out quite a bit.
Chilled out is putting it mildly. We're talking a drop from a high of 27.4% back in August of last year, all the way down to 9.6% this August. That's the first time it's been in single digits for almost 3 years.
Wow. And that, my friend, is a big deal.
Huge. And Metis Global is pointing to some key reasons for this shift. Tighter monetary policy seems to be working its magic, and the easing of global commodity crises is lending a helping hand. But what does this actually mean for the everyday person in Pakistan?
Think about it this way. When inflation eases up, prices don't skyrocket like they used to. Suddenly, your money has a bit more breathing room, it can buy a little more, which makes a world of difference in day-to-day life.
That's a relief, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like the IMF is noticing Pakistan's efforts too. They can be a tough crowd,
Yeah, they can.
but even they're giving some positive signals.
It's true. They're projecting a solid growth rate of 3.2% for Pakistan this fiscal year, with the potential to hit 4% next year. Now, those numbers are encouraging, but here's where we have to dig a little deeper, especially for those who love to connect the dots. When we compare how much Pakistan spends on essential services, things like education and healthcare, to its neighbors like India and Bangladesh, well, that's where a different story starts to unfold.
Okay, now you've got me hooked. What exactly did the IMF find there?
They found that Pakistan is devoting a smaller portion of its overall wealth, what we call its GDP,
Right.
to these vital social sectors. And that has real consequences, things like higher infant mortality rates and a knock-on effect on overall human development. So it's not just about the numbers going up, it's about where those resources are going.
So even though the economy is looking up, there's still work to do on the ground level. It's like a balancing act, right?
Exactly. Speaking of balancing acts, let's move from social spending to something that impacts every Pakistani, the world of trade. The Daily The News had a fascinating report on a sector that's actually booming: textile exports.
Okay, so we're going from numbers to actual stuff people wear and use.
Yeah.
Tell me more. So textiles?
Yeah.
You're talking about those cool Pakistani cotton shirts everyone seems to love?
You're getting warmer. It's actually the finished goods where
Yeah.
things get really interesting.
Okay.
Ready-made garments, those saw a massive 35% jump in exports.
Well-
What this tells us is that Pakistan is stepping up in the global market,
Yeah.
exporting more than just raw materials,
Right.
creating finished products, which is a big win.
That's what I like to hear, moving up in the world.
Exactly.
And speaking of stepping up, the SKO Summit really put the spotlight on something that's close to my heart: small businesses. They even quoted Shafiq Anjum,
Yes.
the president of the Faisalabad Chamber of Small Traders and Industries, about this.
Absolutely. There's this growing realization in Pakistan, almost like a light bulb moment, that small and medium-sized enterprises,
Right.
those SMEs,
Yeah.
those are the real engines for lasting economic growth.
Right.
They bring fresh ideas, create jobs, and can make the economy more diverse and resilient.
Okay, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
But let's be real, what challenges do these businesses face? The global market is a tough nut to crack, right?
It definitely has its hurdles.
Yeah.
One of the biggest is getting access to affordable loans. Imagine trying to start up, expand, or even just stay afloat when the cost of borrowing is through the roof.
Right.
That's a huge barrier for many SMEs.
Yeah.
On top of that, they need support in navigating the world of technology,
Sure.
keeping up with trends,
Yeah.
and even something as essential as taxes can be a huge headache.
So it's not enough to just say, hey, small businesses are great, go for it.
Right.
Pakistan needs to actively create an environment where these businesses can not only survive, but actually thrive.
Yeah, exactly. The SKO Summit really drove this point home.
Okay.
It highlighted some crucial strategies, things like making regulations easier to understand and follow,
Oh,
offering more accessible credit options,
sure.
and investing in training programs that equip people with the skills they need.
Right.
It's about giving these SMEs the tools and support they need to not just exist, but to truly excel.
It sounds like giving these SMEs the tools they need to succeed is critical for Pakistan's overall economic health.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not just about handing out loans.
Right.
It's about fostering an ecosystem of support that includes mentorship, market access, and a stable policy environment.
Okay.
Remember, when small businesses succeed, the entire economy benefits.
Okay, so far, we've seen some pretty impressive wins for Pakistan's economy.
Yeah.
Inflation cooling down, that textile export surge, and this exciting potential of small businesses.
Yeah.
But no good deep dive is complete without looking at the flip side, right?
Right.
What about those persistent challenges that just won't seem to go away?
You're spot on. We can't ignore those elephants in the room.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest is staring us right in the face when we look at the data from trading economics, the trade deficit.
Ah, yes, the trade deficit.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, what does that mean for someone who might not be an economics whiz?
Simply put, it means Pakistan is spending a lot more on imports, things they're buying from other countries, than it is earning from exports, the goods they're selling internationally.
No.
And this imbalance puts pressure on its currency, the rupee, and can impact the overall stability of the economy.
Right.
It's like trying to balance a seesaw, where one side is much heavier than the other.
Right. And that brings us to the rupee.
Yeah.
It's been in the news a lot lately.
Sure.
I know you can't predict the future, but what are the experts saying about its trajectory?
The rupee has actually been holding relatively steady recently,
Okay.
which is a good sign.
Right.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
A lot hinges on how effectively Pakistan tackles those deeper economic issues like the trade deficit we just talked about.
Right.
And of course, you can't underestimate the power of political stability. That's what gives investors the confidence to say, hey, this is a place where we want to put our money.
Political stability, attracting investment, tackling the trade deficit, it's a lot to juggle. So for someone like me, or anyone really, trying to wrap their head around Pakistan's economic future, what's the key takeaway here?
It's tempting to look for a crystal ball, right? But the reality is Pakistan's economic picture is complex,
Right.
full of moving parts.
Sure.
We see some really positive trends emerging. That cooling inflation, the textile industry's impressive performance, and this growing awareness of the power of small businesses.
Yeah.
Those are all reasons to be cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then there are those persistent challenges like the trade deficit, political stability.
Right.
Those can feel like roadblocks on the path to progress.
And that's exactly why staying informed is so important. Don't just follow the headlines, dig a little deeper like we've done today to understand the nuances, the complexities.
Yeah.
That's how you get the full picture.
It's like you always say.
Yeah.
Economic growth isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about people's lives, their hopes, their struggles.
Precisely. As you follow Pakistan's economic journey, and every country has its own journey, ask yourself, how are these policies, these trends, actually impacting the everyday lives of people? What more can be done to create a brighter future for everyone? Those are the questions that really matter.
So Pakistan's economy,
Yeah.
a success story or a work in progress, that's for you to decide. We've given you the insights, the facts on the ground, but one thing is certain. The power of small businesses, smart moves in the global trade game, and a little bit of hope can go a long way. Keep an eye on that rupee and keep asking those important questions, my friend.
AI-powered analytics and Fintalk by Tensorminds Private Limited. Thank you for listening.